Okay, we are about to live in 2 3 seconds. Yep, we are live, and as everybody knows, this is Salesforce mock interview session, and I have Utkarsh with me. Welcome back, Utkarsh, one more time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so in today's session, we are going to discuss few new questionnaires, right? And as you know, like in last session, we discussed about the future method that is part of asynchronous Apex. So in today's session, also there will be lots of questions related to another feature of asynchronous Apex, and that feature is basically Queueable Apex, right? So we'll start with that. And before I start, just wanted to share you something like Skill Horizon is basically Trailblazer Workforce Partner. We are working in Salesforce ecosystem so that we can generate workforce for the companies. We are running both online and offline training programs, and we are about to hit 100 Salesforce job selection. 95 and I think 96 student already got selected. So we are very close to 100, and maybe in May month we'll be able to achieve that milestone. Okay, so if you
Great,
are
sir.
also interested and you want to join the program, so you can. And okay, so I think we have a QR code also. So you can scan this QR code. With the help of this, you can be connected with us. So we provide free job readiness training demo sessions. So if you want to connect, you can scan and be part of our community. Okay, so with this note, question number one. So the question number one is basically related to Queueable Apex, and as I already told you, most of the question will be related to Queueable. So a Queueable job is executing, and it enqueues a child job, right? The child job then tries to enqueue another child job. This is kind of chaining. And what is the behavior in a production org versus a developer edition org, right? I hope like everybody, those who are watching live, you know the difference between production org and developer org. uh, I just want to clear, like, developer edition org is available free of cost, and production org you need to purchase, and then only you will be able to use it. So Utkarsh, four options for you. So in
Yeah,
production, chaining is unlimited. In developer edition, the max chain depth is 5, including the parent one. This is the first option. Second is chaining is limited to depth 5 in all type of orgs, including production. Third option is chaining is not supported from within an executing queuable job at all. Okay. And fourth one is in developer edition, chaining is unlimited, and in production, max depth is 5. So there are four, there are four options available, and those who are connected with us live. So if you want to answer this question, you can just type A, B, C, D. So I just want to know, like, how many of you think like which is the correct option. And in the meantime, I request Utkarsh also, like, Utkarsh, if you can pick the correct answer and share the insight on that.
sure, sir. So I guess the first A option is the correct because in production the chaining is unlimited, and since developer addition org is free, so the chaining is limited to 5. The depth of chaining is limited to 5, including the parent.
Okay, can you little bit elaborate what actually chaining is?
Chaining, sir, is like you can call from like you can call another queueable job from the running queueable job from its execute method. Like in the execute method, you can call another queueable, and then this goes on. Like in a developer edition, the depth is 5. Like you can call like this in up to 5 level,
Right.
but in the production, the chaining is unlimited.
Yeah, perfect. Very well explained, and this is correct answer. And just one more thing. If I want to compare it with future method, so do we have chaining available in the future method also? What
No,
do you
sir,
think?
chaining is not there in the future method.
Okay,
The,
chaining is not available in the future method. It is only available in the queuable method, right?
yeah,
Okay, yeah, you are correct again. And yep, so I think we can move on to the next question now. So next question is, which of the following statements about system.nq job is most accurate when called from within a test class that is not wrapped in test.start test and test.stop test. Okay, so this test.start test and test.stop test is basically related to the test classes, right?
Hmm.
Now we are trying to relate it with the NQ job method. Now there are four options again. Okay, so if you're watching this live, I want you to answer in the chat, and we'll see like what Utkarsh is, and then we'll see which option is the correct one. So here first option is A, the job executes synchronously immediately after the NQ call. Second option B, the job is enqueued and runs after the test method finishes, like in production. C, the job is enqueued but it execute method is never called during the test. You must use start test and stop test to force synchronous execution. And D, Salesforce throws a limit exception because queuable jobs cannot be enqueued inside tests. So, which is the correct answer? And before you pick the correct answer, Utkarsh, I want you to elaborate the behavior of test dot start test and stop test first.
Okay, so we used test dot start test and test dot stop test to first thing, like in the normal case we used to have a separate governor limits, and in the case of the asynchronous apex we use it to force the asynchronous methods to run in the synchronous way. That's why we use those.
So, which one is
Uh,
the correct answer?
So, sir, C is the correct answer because the job will be include, that's for sure. But the execute method will not run like during the test until
Okay.
and unless you make it wrapped up inside the test start or test stop.
Okay, so you very well answered this question, and you all already explained the behavior of test dot start test and test dot stop test. So
Yeah.
everybody, please remember like whatever Utkarsh explained, because right now you are able to see four options available here, but in real time there might be a question asked in interview, and you in interviews generally we don't have choices, right? So that is why you need to remember this answer, and in future whenever you will be having an interview, so this will be the correct answer, like why we are using test dot start test and stop test while writing the test class for the Queueable Apex. Okay, moving on to the next question. So question number 3, what is Queueable Apex and how is it different from a future method?
So, sir, queuable. Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, you are audible.
So yeah, queuable apex is, like you can say in simple words, is a upgraded version of the future method. It is similar to the future method, like the process run in the background, and the user don't have to wait like the for the process to get complete. The user can carry on with some other work, and it can be implemented by first you have to create a class which implements queuable.
Hmm.
Second thing is you have to write down a single method of the named as execute, in which you will write the logic of your class. And then third step is you have to call the system.enqueue job. And how it is different from the future method, first thing is like in the previous questions only, the chaining is not allowed in future, but it is allowed in the queuable apex. Second thing is, like you can pass the complex object as the parameter in the queuable apex, whereas you can only pass the primitive data type or the collection of primitive data type in the future method. Third difference is you can monitor Queueable Apex, like it returns the ID, whereas in the future method there is no way to monitor the future method.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And in the end, the three differences that you mentioned, like chaining and this monitoring of the job and the parameter that we can pass in the queuable. So these are the three major differences which are available. So I
Yeah.
think with your answer, like those who are watching this session live, they will be able to understand. And I know lots of people will be watching the recording as well. So those who are listening, like this is how you need to explain your answer in the interview. Okay, absolutely right, Utkarsh. We can move on to the next question now. So next interview question number 4 is, so a trigger on contact calls system.nq job for every record in trigger.new. A bulk load of 300 contact records fires the trigger in a single transaction. So what happens? 300 separate queuable jobs are successfully enqueued, one per record. Second option, that is B, only 5 jobs are enqueued because of the active batch limit. Third, C option, a limit exception is thrown because only 50 NQ job calls are allowed per transaction. And option D, Salesforce automatically batches the NQ calls into a single queuable job. So what do you think, Utkarsh?
Sir, there is a limit which Salesforce put in the queuable job. Like you can only pass 50 queuable job in single transaction. So yeah, C is the correct option. Like the limit exception is thrown because only 50 NQ job calls are allowed per transaction. So yeah,
Okay,
it's the logic.
so apart from this, Navneet is asking, we can monitor future from UI. Yeah, Navneet, you are right.
Yeah, UI is
You,
common between the, like
yes,
you can
right.
that's a difference between the like queuable method returns the ID, whereas future method return type is void only.
Right.
So it doesn't any return type.
Yeah. So Utkarsh answered from the code perspective, like if you're implementing code. So in that perspective, future will be returning void and queuable will be returning the ID so that we can monitor. Right.
Yeah,
And through UI, like all the asynchronous processes we can monitor. That is true.
yeah. So that's a difference between the future and the queuable. That's why I mentioned it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move forward. So next question. So you need to make HTTP callout from a queuable job. So this is basically for integration purpose when you want to hit the third party system API. So what is the correct way to enable this? So you need to add @future callout equals to true annotation. And second option is use database.allow callouts annotation at the method level. C, implement the database.allow callouts marker interface on the queuable class. And no special declaration is needed. Callouts are allowed in queuable jobs by default. What do you think?
Sir, we have to implement the database dot allow callout,
Marker
not
interface.
just use the notation. We have to implement it. That's why the C option is correct.
Right. So there are pre-built interfaces available. From those, one is allow callouts that you need to implement in your class, and then you can do the third-party system API call. And this is very
Yeah.
good question because generally people remember about the future method. In future method, we can use
Callout
callouts
is equal to
equals to
true.
true. But the C option is very good because C option is right because with a queuable you will be using this particular interface and this you need to remember for the interview purpose. Okay, so moving on to the next question, question number 6. What happens when you call system.nqjob inside a test without start test or stop test, and how many queuable jobs can you enqueue in a single transaction?
Okay, since we use system.enqueue job for the Queueable Apex, and Queueable Apex is a, like you can say, a type of a asynchronous process. So if we don't use the start test or stop test, there won't be any the asynchronous job will be not running in the synchronous, and you won't be able to validate the result. Like the system dot assert will be failing every time because the process won't be running. So in order to make the process asynchronous process synchronous and to validate the test, like pass the or check the system.assert, you need to pass a rapid around the test start and test stop test so that you can get the result. And how many queuable jobs can be included in a single transaction is 50.
Yep, both the answers are correct. So moving on to the next question, question number 7. So what is the key architectural difference between a queuable job that processes 200 records versus a batch Apex job processing the same 200 records? Option A, queuable processes in chunks of 200 by default. Batch processes all 200 in one execute call. B option, queuable processes all 200 records within a single execution context with standard governor limits. Batch can split them across multiple execute transactions, each with its own limit. Okay. C option, queuable has a heap size of 12 MB like batch Apex, so there is no practical difference. D option, batch Apex is always slower than queuable because it involves overhead from the start and finish methods. What do you think?
B, sir. Like there is a difference. Like Salesforce has put the limitation. Like again, the 50 you can only call 50 queuable job in a single transaction.
Hmm.
So in order to process like the huge amount of record, like 200 record, so what we do is like the collect all the IDs of the records and then pass it to the list or the collection variable as a parameter in the queuable job, so that it can run. And yeah, so
Yes,
B is the correct option.
you are right. Both queuable and batch works differently. So in batch we can have number of records like 200 is the default, but we can split.
Hmm.
So like batch size varies from 1 to 2000. Okay, so
Yeah,
we can manipulate that and accordingly number of batches will be generated. But in queuable that we cannot do, right? So
yeah.
your answer is correct. Like B is the correct answer for this particular question. Okay, moving on to the next question, question number 7, sorry, question number 8. So a queuable job class contains an instance variable list of accounts. Okay, the constructor populates it. When execute runs, the list has the data. If this job changes a child job passing this dot accounts, what is the potential concern? This is again a very good question, and I hope many of you will be learning something new. And option A is instance variables are not serializable, so the child job will receive a null list. B option, the entire object including the list must be serialized into the job queue. Very large lists can exceed heap or serialization size limits. C option, chaining with non-primitive type is not allowed. Salesforce will throw a compile time error. And there is no concern. Salesforce handles serialization of all object types automatically without any size constraints. So what do you think, Utkarsh? What could be the correct answer for this?
The B option would be the perfect fit. Like the entire object must be the list must be serialized into the job queue. And yeah, the major two concern will be the serialization and the heap size. And the B option is the perfectly fit in. Like
Okay.
the other option, like the C and the D is absolutely wrong. And the A one, like you can serialize them, but it is difficult. Like,
Yeah. So Navneet, you answered like you kind of differentiated batch and queuable, and your answer is totally correct. I agree with your thoughts, and thank you for sharing your knowledge in the chat. So keeping this session engaging. Okay, so Utkarsh, let's go on to the next question for you. So interview question number 9 is, what is job chaining in Queueable Apex and what are its limits?
so job chaining in Queueable Apex is like you can call the Queueable job from the running execute method of the queueable job which is already running.
Hmm.
And the limitation, like you can form like the sequential pipeline you can form like one after the another. For the this can help you, like you can guess the, like you can predict, like, or you can set the execution order, like first job A will run, and then only after the job A has done his uh, processing, then only the job B will be called. So the execution order you can define in this way. And the limitations are, first thing is like the in production there is no limit in the chaining, but in the free version, like this developer argue the limit is there.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is five max depth of the children,
Hmm.
including the parent.
Hmm.
And the second thing is like you can call only one child
Hmm.
per transaction. Like you won't be able to call two child at the same time. So job A can call, for example, job A will call job B, and B will call the C. It won't be like this. Like job A will be calling B and C both.
Okay, yeah, your answer is correct. And Navneet, the question was related to job chaining only. Okay, so he already explained like if you have multiple queuable jobs and you want to execute them one after another, so for that purpose we can do the job chaining, right? And moving on to the next question. So next question is number 10, and you call system.enqueue job from a future method. What happens? A system.async exception is thrown because async cannot be called from async. B, it is allowed, but you are limited to enqueuing exactly one queuable job per future method invocation. C, it is allowed, but it is allowed with no restrictions. You can enqueue up to 50 queuable jobs from a future method. And D, the call is silently ignored and no job is enqueued. What do you think?
B, sir, there's a limit, like only one queuable job per future method invocation is there,
Okay, not more than that.
not more than that. Yeah,
Okay.
it will
Yeah.
throw an error.
Okay. So I think we can move on to the next question now. So regarding testing chained queuable jobs, which statement is correct? Both parent and child job execute synchronously within a single start test stop test block. First option. Second option is chained queuable jobs cannot be tested end to end in a single test. Each job in the chain must be tested in isolation and you must guard the chain call with test.isRunning test. C option, you must use @istest, C all data equals to true to test chained queuable jobs. And D, chained jobs are tested by calling database.execute batch in the test class.
So B option is the correct one because like it is mentioned that you will test the like different chain, like different job, say in the isolation, and then for each job we will be having separate limits, governor limits. Yeah, so B is the correct option.
Okay, yeah, I think you are right. So I think we can move on to the next question now. So next question is job processes 1,000 accounts, right, and tracks a success count integer, and it chains job B passing the count via constructor. Job B fails due to governor limit violation on the 800th record. What happens to the success count data? Why can't you use database.stateful here? Describe the most resilient design to preserve state across a chain when individual job can fail.
So, sir, since job A is passing the integer via constructor in the job B, and the job B is failing due to the governor limit, so the whole thing will be rolled back, and the success count data will get destroyed. Uh, and why we can't use database.stateful here is like because in Queueable we are not allowed to do so. Database.stateful is only allowed to be used in the batch Apex, not in Queueable, which helps to retain the value like of the integer in the different transaction. That helps, but in the Queueable we are not allowed to use it, database.stateful. And the most effective way would be like you can store the integer value in the, you can create a custom object and then store the value over it, like for like when the job A is running and the full processing, like the whole logic is executed and the process, then before calling the job B, store that the data of the success counter into the custom object, and then after the job B is called, first retrieve the data of the success counter and then do the that all the processing or the logic building you want to do. And then again after, like if you want to call another job or something like that, before calling that just store the data again into the custom object. In that way, like if the job B fails, we still have the like the count or the integer data would be stored. The data would be there, like the job A has already stored the data, so that data won't be lost. Yeah,
Yeah, Navneet is appreciating the way you are explaining, so he thinks it
thank
is
you.
insightful. So, really appreciate the way you are explaining, and it is seamless explanation. I think, like next time, whenever you are going to do job switch, you will be able to crack it in one go.
That's the plan,
Okay,
sir.
yeah, okay. So, moving on to the next question now. So, next question number 13 is a developer wants to maintain a running count of processed records across multiple chained queuable jobs. How should this be achieved? Okay, so the option A is implement database.stateful interface on the queuable class, just like in batch Batchbix. Second is pass the running count as a constructor argument to each chained queuable job, since queuable does not have a stateful interface. Use a static variable in the class, it persists across chained jobs executions automatically. And last option D is store the count in a future methods, return value passed back to the queuable job. I think D won't be correct because
Yeah.
future method doesn't return anything.
Hmm. So since D is eliminated and A is also eliminated because database.stateful is not there. And this C thing is like if you use the static variable in the different transaction, the static variable value will be lost. So B is the correct for now since all the other options are failing. But B is not actually correct. Like if the data, like in the previous question, if the job fails, the counter or the you can say the count will be lost forever. But for now, in this option, B is the perfect one.
Right. So I think in interview, like if previous question and this question, like interviewer will be asking anyways any one thing, so we can cover both the
Yeah.
things in that answer, right?
Sure.
Okay. So moving on to the next question now. So next is what is the behavior when system.enqueue job is called from within the execute method of a batch Apex class? So it is not allowed at all. Salesforce throws a compile time error. B, it is allowed but limited to one enqueue call per execute invocation. Calling it more than once per execution throws a limit exception. And it works with no restrictions. Up to 50 queuable jobs can be enqueued from each execute call. D, the job is silently queued but only executes after the entire batch job completes its finish method. So what do you think? Which one is the correct answer here?
I guess sir B, like same with the future method. The batch also allowed only one queuable job. Other than like more than that, to throw an limit exception error.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect. So I think this everybody can remember, and I think these are not best practices. These are available, but as per best practice, we won't be doing this. But as and
Yeah.
when required, we can go with that because it is allowed. So next question. So a trigger on case call system.enqueue job for every record in trigger.new. A data migration loads 500 cases in one DML, right? The org is on enterprise edition. What exactly fails at what point and why? If you had to fix this with a single architectural change, what would it be, and what trade-off does it introduce?
So from the question, as it already mentioned, like the org is enterprise level edition, so the chaining is unlimited. So we and the question also says like for trigger call our trigger is calling a system.enqueue for every record.
Every record, yeah.
Like so if this won't be an enterprise org, it would be failing after the fifth one only. But since it is enterprise org edition, but the records are 500. So after the 50th record, like the 50th record, when it will be calling the system.enqueue job, it will fail. Since it is a Salesforce limitation that you can only call 50 queuable job a single transaction.
Right.
So yeah, that at that point it will be failing, and we can fix it by like collecting all the IDs of the 500 cases in the list and then passing it to the single queuable job.
Right.
But like the trade-off would be like there would be a risk of the CPQ limit, like it would reach the CPQ limit like a heap size, and the second thing will be governor limit and the SOQ limit, like if there will be a processing.
Okay.
So like hit
Yeah,
the
you
limit.
you just mentioned all the pros and cons,
Yeah.
like whatever is available here, limitations and how we can resolve. So I think this is very good explanation onto this question, and I hope those who are watching this you are able to understand. So all the questions were totally different, and if you go through these type of questions, you will be able to crack the interviews quickly, and that is the intent. We are running this Salesforce mock interviews and mock interview series. This was the episode number 18, and now, like after having this much knowledge, if you think you or anybody in your circle you want to recommend them so that they can get to know like how they can ramp on the Salesforce job. So share this QR code with them, and they can join our WhatsApp community, where we are arranging lots of demo sessions, right? And they are totally free of cost. One can join those demo sessions, and then they can decide whether to go for the complete curriculum or not. And the details are available on skillhorizon.org.in website as well. And to support us, if you can hit the like button on this live stream, so that will be appreciated. And I want to thank Utkarsh. Utkarsh, you explained each and every question very perfectly. And this is how, like, why I'm doing these, because the way you are explaining this way, people will understand seamlessly how we need to explain the questions, answer in the interview, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is it for today, and we'll be connecting next week also. So I think next week we'll be picking the batch Apex, and we'll see if we can include the schedule Apex. Otherwise, we can have one for batch and one for schedule Apex, so that new questionnaire you will be having, and you can also learn how to explain those questions in the interview. Okay, so this is it for today, and thank you, Utkarsh, once again, and we'll be connecting to like next week for another session.
Sure, sir. It's my pleasure.
Okay,